Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 Wii U review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which we've never played it before. It's another excellent platformer from the Retro Studio guys. Because I always get wrong when first showing off certain things, I'm on a brand new file here. I think I beat the first 3 levels it says there. Either way, I just set up a quick little file to show off some of the basic gameplay. The only spoiler I'm going to be mentioning really is how many worlds there are, but I'm not going to be showing anything off from the later worlds because I know people like to discover the art styles and that for themselves, you know. When you start the game up, you have to choose which one player 1 and player 2 is, so whether the gamepad's 1 or the gamepad's 2. You can play with Pro Controller and also Wii Remote. I don't know if the Wii Remote's got awful motion controls, which is the reason why I hated the Wii version of Donkey Kong Country Returns and why I only like the 3DS version. Because why would I want to try it? Because I hated them. So all I know is you can play it with a Pro Controller, a Wii Remote and a gamepad, and as far as I'm concerned the Pro Controller is by far the best method. You can choose to use the left stick or the D-pad, and I remember, I think I mentioned this in my 3DS review, why give you the option? Why not just have them both work? Why? It seems like it would actually take more development time to lock some of the controls. You know, it's weird. Either way, I think I would definitely prefer using the analog. I know there's some people out there who prefer using the D-pad. The shop makes a unwelcome return in my eyes because basically the shop is there to make things far easier. By going into the shop now, I'll at least be able to show you some of the stuff that you can actually buy in it. You can get these, which are new capsules, and basically they're like, you pay coins and you get toys from them, and it's just one of those things. It's the only nice little addition to the shops. Everything else though, you can get a heart boost, you can get invincibility juice, which is banana juice, you can get a shield, you can get the bird tells you where puzzle pieces are. I can understand people using that one because sometimes the puzzle pieces are a little awkward to get to, and some of them really do actually take a hell of a lot of thought. But you can also buy halfway barrels now, and so you can use them and get a friend back at any point, and you can just buy yourself more lives, which I don't even think there's any real need to buy any more lives, because obviously, as you can see from what I've set up here, I've got 23, and all I've done is beat the first couple levels, so all you'd have to do is replay some of the earlier levels and you get absolutely tons of lives. One of the things that is a little bit annoying about the game is, while there are new characters to play as, player 1 is always Donkey Kong. Now they've done that because of the aspect of, you have one of the smaller Kongs, or in Cranky's case one of the feeble Kongs, you can have them carried around by Donkey Kong and they gain their abilities. So for example, if you played the last one, Diddy Kong has a jetpack, and by stamping, going on his back and that, you can basically do a little jetpack jump with Donkey Kong. And it's the same sort of thing with the other characters. You've got Dixie Kong, who makes a welcome return, and she's got a helicopter spin, so you can do that by having her on the back. Or when you play as her on 2-player mode or anything, then she just has it herself. You've got Cranky Kong, who plays an awful lot like Scrooge McDuck from the NES DuckTales game, because he's got a pole, and basically by timing the jump button you can do a bit of a pogo stick action with them, and as far as I'm aware there is no limit to that, because when I was playing as Cranky I just did the entire level like that just to see, and while I think it annoyed the hell out of my brother because it was kind of proving problematic at times, it's one of those things that at least it means if you wanted to you can just constantly pound it to do the pogo dance. You can also use your stick to attack, and you can throw false teeth out, and it's just little things like that that do change up how the characters play. And at least it means in 2-player, if you're playing as player 2, because as I say Donkey Kong is always player 1, then at least it's going to give you a bit more variety. And it's one of those that certain levels, it is most definitely better to have a better jump, or to have a different sort of jump, because one gains you a bit more height whereas one gains you a bit more length, and it's just one of those things. You'll have to play through the levels a couple of times to try and get the puzzle pieces anyway, and you'll soon discover yourself which sort of level requires which sort of character. As you can see, the health system does make a return from the last game, and basically it's you get 4 hearts total, but once you've lost 2 hearts for a character, then that's it, you lose that character. And when you're on 1 player, the hearts always go in like reverse order, whereas on 2 player it is conceivable that obviously Donkey Kong can die first. There is barrels that mix up the gameplay, because you might have noticed there I was playing as Dixie and then I found a Diddy barrel, so now I've got Diddy on me back. It's a shame, because I would have much rather found Cranky right about now to at least show him off a little bit, seeing as he's one of the new characters. Graphically is something else I can mention about the game, because I might as well, because you'll have probably seen it by now. For a Wii U game, it is pretty good looking, but you've got to remember I've been coming off playing a lot of games on the PS4, including Tomb Raider, so I honestly find it hard for me to say that it looks stunning, because that was a game that, in my opinion, looked stunning. For a Wii U game, though, this is still good looking, and it's definitely more than good enough, and I was impressed with the fur effects on the characters, even though there have been a hell of a lot of topics of controversy over the fur effect, and how people have said that they don't like the look on the characters, and it's just one of those, it's like everything else, it's personal preference really. There's nothing else I can actually say about that. It is personal preference. You either like the fact that they're fuzzy now, or you hate the fact that they're fuzzy. I also quite like the locations and that on this one, and how things look, and as I say, I'm not going to go into any detail or depth or anything like that. If you wanted to find out yourself without spoilers, then I'd hate to then spoil it for you, and if you do want to know about it, then, well, there's trailers out there, you know, that show off some of the later stuff. Musically, the game is fantastic, so I will shut up for a little bit and let you listen to the music. There's a couple other things though that I've got to very quickly mention. One is this new Smart Bomb style feature, where you've got a bar in the very top left corner of the screen, and by activating it, things happen. So you'll either get like that there, it turned all the enemies into lives. There's also, I've seen it turn the enemies into bananas or banana coins, and it's just one of those things. I suppose it's there to make the game a bit easier, and it's one of those things that I don't particularly like anything that makes the game easier. It does feel like it's been added purely for the people who said the last one was too hard, and I'm thinking, if you had to add the Smart Bomb feature, couldn't you have made it an item to buy in the shop so that it wasn't enforced on everyone, you know? But it's one of those, you can always obviously just not use it. I'll load up another level here and then shut up for some of that music, as I said earlier on. I will quickly mention though, while I'm on the menu, that you can do time attacks still, and I've already mentioned obviously that there's puzzle pieces, and you've seen that there's Kong letters to collect. It's the same usual stuff to collect, and by getting things you will unlock, and this is the only spoiler part of the vid, you will unlock a secret world, and it's World 7. Because that's the only real disappointment about the game. It's much shorter than Donkey Kong Country Returns, because that was 8 worlds on the Wii and then 9 on the 3DS, and this one is just 7 worlds. But it still is more than good enough length, and the difficulty will definitely add some gameplay to it and length to it, because it is rock hard, especially in the later levels. So that was a little bit of the music, and I have, oh god, I can't even believe I'm admitting to this, I've got the Wii remote in my hands. I thought I should probably find out. It does have motion controls. So if you were one of those from the last generation of Donkey Kong games that preferred the motion controls, you can at least do it with the Wii remote. I've put co-op on so I could at least show it off, and firstly so I could show off Cranky, because I do think he is awesome. It's one of those, I think he's probably my favourite character on the entire game. The thing you might notice though, pretty easy to spot, and it's pretty early on, is the fact that the camera for 2-player is atrocious. It really is. It just like picks and chooses who it follows. You'd think it would automatically always follow player 1, but it doesn't. It just chooses who it wants to follow at any given time, and it makes it truly atrocious and difficult to play the game, which is a shame, because in co-op the game is actually better and worse at the same time. If the camera was just a little bit better, or even if you got separate cameras, seeing as one of you could play on the gamepad, you know, even if there was just a limit on, you couldn't go past a certain point at any moment. So especially if, like, obviously one of you came up against, for example, a barrel. So if they'd done natural blockers, you know, then I just think it would have been so much better than it was, because the camera is the only thing that really does ruin the co-op experience for me, because everything else about it is brilliant, especially being able to really utilise the second player's abilities and things like that when you're playing as Cranky and Dixie and Diddy. But it is what it is, and you'll either have to play at one player and take turns if you want to play co-op, or you'll have to get used to the camera. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. It is, as I say, it is how it is. So yeah, I don't really think there is anything else I can really mention about the game. I kind of, not so much made a mistake, but slipped up earlier on when I was saying, obviously, about buying the midway barrels and that. It's not particularly for midway barrels, it's for when you're playing on one player, you can choose who you want to start a level as, whereas on two player, you don't get that problem because you just choose your character at the start of the two-player session. The only problem is, and it is a pretty huge problem, see, I decided, right, the next level, I know fine well I have to play it as Diddy. I can't do it as Cranky. There's a piece that I need Diddy for. This is how you change character. You hit start, you exit out the level, which means you have to go through a loading screen, and the loading is pretty bad on the game. It's nowhere near as fast as I would have liked it, and the loading itself even suffers frame rate issues. You then have to hit start again to completely quit the game, and then you load the game back up again and choose your character. And I feel see the reasoning behind that. Why couldn't they have just allowed people to change on the fly? Even Mario 3D World, you could hit start and select to drop out and then choose character again, you know? So even that was a little bit better than what this is. And it's just a bit of a shame, really, that they've did it, because it's one of the only blemishes the game really has. But again, you just have to get used to it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that you can't do anything about it. So I thought I'd mention it for the people out there who might have been interested, because I've heard a lot of people mentioning things, but the specifics, they didn't really clarify why it was a problem. So I've at least shown, in my opinion, why it's a problem. So that's the end of the vid then. Considering there's very little else on the Wii U, it's impossible to not recommend this, because it's a well-made, brilliant game that's got a great difficulty curve, and just everything about it, for the most part, is awesome when it comes to gameplay. It's got a few little problems, but they don't take away from the whole overall, and as I say, it's not as if the Wii U's exactly swimming in games, so what else are you going to play? So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid, or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.